Hi everybody, Liz and Annie here again with another tutorial. Obviously, Annie and I upgraded our computer situation over the summer, so now we both have computers that will run these cool virtual backgrounds, and we have selected our happiest places so we can kind of hang out there as an escape from sitting in our living rooms eternally during this pandemic. So what we want to show you guys today is a new option that Zoom has as part of one of its most recent software updates. So as usual, we're always broken records about this, but update your Zoom software as everyone's kind of like fed into the crush of remote teaching for fall and people continue to work remotely and have all their meetings remotely. I feel like Zoom is in another wave of kind of updating and improving issues with the software. So if you haven't checked in a while, check for updates, make sure you're running the latest version. Stuff is getting even more useful, even more kind of like intuitive in terms of what you're able to do or how you're able to set up your Zoom environment. Okay, so the first thing we're going to show you is just a reminder of something that we've shown in prior videos. Everyone who's been doing remote teaching is probably already using this approach, especially if you're teaching synchronously through Zoom, having students come to your Zoom room and watch you give a lecture. So the first way you can share a slide deck is go to screen share. I'm going to go to basic, then I'm going to click on Keynote, which is the slide deck I have open right now. I'm going to click share. This is the same setup that we've shown you in a bunch of other videos. This looks super familiar to me because of all the teaching I've been doing the last few months. So this is what the instructor sees. I see my slide deck, or my title slide, my first slide that I'm sharing with my students. If I had a bunch of people with their videos on, some of their thumbnails would be displayed to me over here on the right where Annie and I are right now. I can hide everyone but me. I can resize my video a little bit. We've talked about this in lots of other contexts and lots of other videos. So I think people are probably pretty comfortable with this approach. If you're recording this through Zoom and having it go to Zoom's cloud or recording to your hard drive as you're doing this synchronous teaching, you can minimize all of the videos so you don't show up, you don't see yourself, and you're just explaining stuff on your slides. And then your video will still be recorded as something that Zoom is like collecting or keeping for you as part of the meeting. So you can arrange this however you want as the instructor, so you can see your slides, move your hovering thumbnail around however you like so that it's not in your way. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing like this. The cool thing that we want to show you though is like this new feature that Zoom is testing out. So it's in beta right now, and we're not entirely sure, but we imagine that means most people have this showing up in their Zoom software, but depending on the strength of your computer and your processor, you may or may not be able to like get this to work all the way. Is that what we settled on, Annie?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So to do this other version, I'm going share screen, and then I'm going to the advanced tab, and then I have this option show up, which is slides as virtual background, and that's in beta. So I'm going to click share. Now it wants me to select the slide deck. I have that on my desktop ready to go, and it's preparing the slides. It's putting us into this environment. Okay, so this like immediately is not necessarily not that exciting because it's just got me and Annie, our thumbnail videos, floating at the top. But what I can do is come down here to where it's giving me options within the Zoom environment to advance my slides. So first I can just go to the second slide, which is, hi everybody, here's content we're talking about today. But then I have this little 3-dot option right here, so I can click on that. Maybe I want to merge my video and slides. So what that does is take my video and it superimposes me on top of the slides. So now I'm actually using my slide deck as a virtual background for my Zoom room. So there's a couple different features or things to keep in mind, or at least things to like play around with if you're considering this option as a different way of displaying your video as you're like showing yourself to your class or as you're teaching your class. So the first, or one of the things is there's this option here to resize my video. So that's going to show me the box that is like the full extent of my video. So just to like illustrate, I live in a box. I'm not like the recording is only what the camera is capturing in my Zoom window normally. So like I could stand up and back away a little bit and have more of my body able to be superimposed over the slides if I wanted to stand and lecture. I can resize this box that I appear in. So if I want to be really big over top of my slides, I can do that. I can also move myself around, which may come in really handy. So maybe I want to be over here. Maybe I'm hovering over content. Maybe I want to be like superimposed on half of my slide, one side of my slide deck consistently, so that I can get used to the mannerisms and like the gestures of like pointing to different bullet points that I have that I want to like illustrate as I'm walking through things with my students. So you have a lot of different options in terms of like where you appear, and like how big or small you make this like floating head version of yourself. But we do want to point out, well, I mean, I don't know if this is immediately obvious, but like what it's doing is flipping my image. So even though I have it set in my video preferences, and in our normal Zoom meeting, in the normal, or the, I guess like original way of sharing my slides that we just showed you, the first option, it's mirroring my video so that like whichever way I'm pointing in reality is mirrored for me. So it's very intuitive. If I'm looking at my slides and I want to point to the bullet points that I have on the left-hand side, I just point to the left side of my living room and I'm pointing at that. This is flipping that image around, and I don't think there's a way to like flip it and then flip it again. So if you want to use this and you want to like gesture to different parts of your slides, which may be useful about like having yourself like floating over as though it's a green screen, just keep that in mind. There's a little bit of like a learning curve involved in remembering which direction you need to be like looking or indicating or gesturing or pointing. Okay. So if I can drag this anytime, it's always floating over top, which is handy. I can go to my next slide, see where maybe it makes sense for my weird discombobulated floating head to exist on this one. So I might make it a little bigger. I could be right here if I'm trying to like really emphasize for students, like these are the things you need to pay attention to for the exam. Like maybe I'll like do this sort of thing and just see if they're attending to the image, or it's a way to like potentially make some of the visual presentation of your lecture content a bit more engaging for your students. If I were tired of seeing my floating head over my slides, or if it was in the way, or I found it to be distracting, I could come down here, click on this 3 dots again, this little, the like options for what I can do while I'm in this beta screen sharing mode. And I can split video from slides. So if I do that, it just pops me back up to the thumbnail where I exist, and other students or Annie or whoever's in my room also can potentially exist. I can pin it if I want so that like mine would be the one that I would see most of the time. I could, I think, oh, I can, oh, you can, now you can multiply pin people, which is pretty cool. We'll do that another tutorial actually, like all the different display images you now have within the new Zoom software for like arranging the gallery or figuring out which videos you're going to highlight. But if I were tired of seeing myself floating over my slides, I could split the video and slides, which would pop me back up into the thumbnail. If I wanted to come back in, float over top of some image I have here, I could do that like this. Okay, so here's important takeaways as I finish up this lecture. Yes, 100% is the amount of awesome of this class that you'll be experiencing with me and Annie. And then this is my favorite quote of all time, especially during the pandemic: time is a flat circle. So I might decide to inhabit all of the space around this. I might just completely engulf it to illustrate this quote more directly. Okay, Annie, what else do people need to know about using this zany new way of displaying slides as their virtual background?
Right. There's only one other thing that might be important for people to know. So if you are a pro PowerPoint Keynote user and you like to use animations in your slides to have bullets popping up or things moving around, it's not clear yet if Zoom is able to show that as part of the virtual background of your slide. So you might want to test out your animations and see if they'll work, because you might need to make adjustments if not. But since this is in beta, they might be, you know, upgrading that ability. So keep an eye out for that. And then also keep an eye out for our second video. It'll be the companion to this one, where we show you what the students see when you're sharing slides, such that you're imposed over them. And you can kind of give them recommendations for how to set up their screen if you're choosing that option. So that's all for me.
Okay, great. Everyone, have fun playing with this, testing this out. Good luck, and we'll be back soon with more stuff.